I had y'all out there. I saw you all. I was so excited. And then you were all gone because this girl and technology do not get along. So I started my other live, and then I wanted to see if you people were out there. I can't see the chat on this thing. Let's see if I could fix that right now. Oh, live chat, all messages. Okay. Oh, people. What does that mean? Oh. I'm so sorry. I don't even know what's going on, and I cannot see my chats. So, hang on. I know that some of you are coming on. I apologize so much because I am seriously confused. Why did that disconnect? Shouldn't have. And now I'm in another one. So now I don't even know if I can see. I'm supposed to be able to see the chats here. Can someone send me a chat? Just let me know that you're out there. Darn it. One day I'm going to figure out how to do it on my computer, which would probably be easier than this, but yay! Oh, I'm glad you jumped back on. I feel so bad for whoever else was off. So thank you, Tammy, for reaching out and letting me know that there is someone out there and that you reconnected, because I don't even know if I could figure that out. Oh, I'm telling you, technology, just brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. Okay, so let's get started because I know that everyone is busy, but if we don't take time to get support and to hear from other people on the journey, some real life stuff, then we're going to feel like such a failure that we are all on our own. And how in the world can we be holy? That is what the Soul, Mind, and Body group is all about, right here in YouTube. We help each other on the journey. I share my kind of struggles in my comments, in short little videos, in shorts. And I also share some of the things that are working for me, like how to pray mental prayer and everything else that we need basically on the journey. No, I haven't shared everything out there yet, but I'm getting better, let's say that, at putting content together for this special group. But it's not just the content, it's my heart. I mean, I feel like people are in this group because they want a vulnerable leader of the group. But you all need to know too that I am better because of you. I am a better, holier person because of this video, because of my ministry, because of being out there, because of having relationships with you people and knowing that I can be vulnerable with you. I can be honest with you, and you're not going to judge me. And you're going to hopefully feel like in the end, you have someone to walk with on this journey who may not be exactly like you, but might be someone you can relate to. So that's kind of what a support group is all about. And I always used to look at support groups like, okay, loser who has to go to a support group, like, can't you do this on your own? Well, duh, look at me for 42, 43, 44, 45 years of my life as I battled and continue to battle addictions. It isn't a matter of willpower, people. It is a matter of grace. And the sooner I figured that out, the better off I was. The more I prayed and the more I humbled myself and gave myself to God, the more I could see Him in my life. That is the voice of God, everyone. If you are changing, or if you are feeling like you should change, if God's poking you and prodding you and saying, maybe you shouldn't be living this way. Maybe you should look at your drinking. Maybe you should look at your prayer life. Maybe you should look at how you're treating your body with your diet and your exercise, that Holy Spirit temple. Maybe you should look at all of these things. And I see a text, sorry. Oh, thank you, Tammy. She says, I feel so blessed that God guided me to your radio show back in 2019, 2020 with Christine Watkins. That's where a lot of you people found me very early on in my reversion. That is so cool. And you know what? That is why I left my career, Tammy. It's because I wanted to get out there and just be real. And gosh, I think about myself back then. I was so early in my ministry. I was kind of struggling through my prayer life at that time. I mean, I have grown exponentially since that radio show. I cannot tell you how much. And it's interesting to look back. I mean, I don't go back and watch those videos, but some people do say, this was one of my favorite videos of yours, and they would send it over to me. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I really feel at that time, I was so junior in my walk. I was scared on that radio show. I allowed every comment. I mean, oh my gosh, we would have 50, 60, 70,000 views on her Queen of Peace Media, Queen of Peace Media YouTube channel. I mean, and there were comments coming from everywhere, and it was horrible. I was not detached. I did not feel like I at all was educated enough or had enough knowledge. But I just spoke my truth in terms of what I knew at the time, what I was learning at the time, what I was struggling with at the time. And when I say I spoke my truth, I don't mean like my truth is my truth and your truth is your truth, like what the culture says today. That's a bunch of bunk. No, there's one truth, only one truth, and it comes from God. And we have to know God's word. And the more that God's word speaks to us, the more that we will change and the more that we will see, oh my gosh, God is acting in my life. All right, but one of those things is learning. Sorry, my hair is bothering me. It's doing this. Sorry, it's just doing this weird thing. It's really bothering me. But you want to know what? It's coming back. Like, look, it's growing back in color. Like, I haven't colored my hair. Sorry, this is probably for all the girls out there. I haven't colored my hair 2 years. 2 years I haven't colored it. And it's like starting to grow back color. It's very strange. Maybe it's the way that I'm eating. Maybe it's the way that I'm treating my body. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's this. My keto heavy whipping cream coffee. I was so hungry. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I need to eat before I got on this live. But I didn't have time. So I thought, I'll just pour a bunch of cream in a cup. And a lot of you may be thinking, oh my gosh, how gross. Okay, look, one more thing. I wanted everyone to know a little bit about my story. Look, I've been addicted to everything. Drugs, alcohol. And when I say drugs, I mean marijuana, the one that's legal and everyone thinks is okay. Yeah, that one I was addicted to for 20 plus years. Borderline alcoholic. I might as well just call myself an alcoholic because, when you're not controlling it, you're certainly, just because I wasn't waking up with a drink like I was with my marijuana, doesn't mean that I wasn't addicted. I mean, I was drinking earlier and earlier and earlier and more and more and more. And again, what I was saying before I got cut off on my first live was that unfortunately, we sometimes get sucked into the lie of the culture, which is, hey, go do whatever makes you happy whenever it makes you happy. Go splurge, go watch pornography to innocent people. We are condemning their souls by doing that, but go ahead, do it anyway. No one knows. It's in your bedroom. Masturbate while you're at it. Take all of the pleasure, be a hedonist. I mean, that was my life. Why? Because I thought it was okay. I mean, I saw my first porn film at 11. I mean, I had a warped sense of love. I was promiscuous. I was sleeping around. I committed adultery. I've done so many things that, I mean, come on, I know some of them are wrong. Hello. You don't sleep with someone when you're married. That is wrong. And you don't sleep with someone and a bunch of other people when you're not married. That's wrong too. I mean, I knew this stuff fundamentally because God puts his word in our hearts, and Satan distorts it and perverts it every single moment he can. And I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, until God found me. Okay, so I'm not going to go into that, but I did want to say, if you want to check out more, my book right here, Am I Catholic? A Struggle with Faith, Humility, and Surrendering to God. Look, there I am. Ha ha! But look, I don't need God. Or do I? Because that was the deal. I mean, when I went to confession in that Catholic church that I really can't stand, right? I ran away from it. I don't like Mass. I don't like anything about it. Boring. But then I went to confession. And then I started walking and learning about the Catholic teachings. And then I started reading the Bible. And then God started working miracles in my life, like a miraculous healing for my marijuana addiction, all these things. But it doesn't mean that I'm still not being tempted. So the purpose of this video, and that's not the title, sorry, I wanted to go live fast because I disconnected my scheduled live. So I didn't want to take time to change the title. It just says Kendra Von Ash, blah, blah, blah. Some stupid that I had to put in there as a default for the lives. But anyway, what happened this weekend? Or wherever you are. This weekend, I should say in America, we had Independence Day. I'm sure there were lots of parties, lots of get-togethers, and I don't know, any weekend could be a tempting weekend. When we're looking at the summer series, when we're looking at life in general and the 24 hours that we're supposed to be living in today, what is it that you are doing to prepare for those events? I didn't do that so well. Actually, I didn't do that really well at all. So we had just one person come over for a celebration. It wasn't a big deal. My husband was smoking ribs, making ribs, barbecuing ribs, out in the smoker, we were just hanging out. But he came with my favorite wine, 3 bottles of them. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I initially, before he walked in the door, I said to my husband, I think I would rather have vodka because vodka is different for me. I'd mentioned this on my podcast, that 2 different bottles of alcohol have a completely different effect on me. Number 1, the wine that I like is any kind of Sauvignon Blanc. It's lighter. I usually have ice with it. I would sometimes. These were my previous preparations, my previous kind of, okay, you are still drinking this too fast, so let's take a couple of steps to slow it down. Number 1, throw some ice in there. Number 2, throw some water in there. I was doing that too. And then number 3, just drink it slower. What are you doing? Why do you have to drink this so fast? And then number 4, put a mark on the bottle where you're going to stop for that night. Did I do any of those? Nope, I did not. I didn't do any of them. Tammy, I agree. We have grown in the last few years. So what does that actually mean? God is working in us, right? It's good to look back and it's good to see. And when people that you know also see, remember when we do better, they do better? It's amazing. Too often we don't reflect, which is why we're doing that. I want to reflect on my 4th of July weekend. Why did I do that? I also want to bring up a couple of other things that I did, which was an engagement party and a graduation party. So let's just go back to this event with this one guy who brings the 3 bottles of wine, my favorite wine, and I'm grateful for it. But right before he came, I told my husband, I think I want to drink vodka. Because I know that I'm going to have a big carb day because I'm going to have ribs, man. I'm going to eat some ribs. I might even have some corn, coleslaw. Like it's going to be a pretty big carb day for me. So I don't want to have my carbs in my wine. I'd rather have it in a vodka with, twist of lime and a little bit of seltzer water. And he says, my husband, well, I don't know if you could do that. Joe asked what kind of wine you were going to have. And so then I felt like, oh no. Well, then, of course, he comes in and I start making a charcuterie board, which is hilarious because it's just basically meat and cheese on a board. I mean, it's hilarious. I live close to Wisconsin. I mean, it used to be just slices of cheese and a bunch of like kind of sausage thingies, but I went a little fancier and, put some figs. Oh no, there were dates and, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, does it? Put some food out. Did I eat any? A little bit, but not a lot. And that's one of the things that I have learned when I drink. If I don't eat, I'm probably not going to eat, and I'm probably going to get more buzzed faster. So I did not pay attention, and I just kept drinking. I was like 1-for-1 with this dude who's 280. And like, I don't know, almost 6 feet. So every time he would, he would go, I would go. But again, his were filled up pretty much, and mine, his were all the way up to the top, and mine were here, but both filled with ice. And if I had to calculate, I probably drank 1.25 bottles out of that 3 bottles. And I wasn't hungover. I did not really eat. I had some ribs. That's the other problem. So I just kept drinking instead of eating. Now, if I was paying attention at that moment, I would have stopped. I would have ate. And I know that it doesn't soak up the alcohol. You have to know that alcohol is poison. So whatever food you put in your mouth and whatever alcohol is in there, that food's going to sit in there until the alcohol is gone. That's a fact, Jack. Think about the times when you were, well, maybe you weren't like this. And God bless you if you did not suffer from alcohol and partying and, drunkenness. And I never was passed out, but boy, I would get sick. Oh, and I would feel it for the next day. I mean, the whole next day. Think about when you ate at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, went out and started drinking, and at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, you're puking up the exact same meal. It's all there, barely chewed up, by the way. Why is it still there? Because the alcohol is such poison for our body. And so it doesn't digest anything. It says, I'm getting rid of this toxin. Out you go. And maybe that's why I don't like to eat when I'm drinking. And I'm telling you, it changes the taste of the food. I don't know. It's a very, very weird thing. So I don't like to eat when I drink. So what I've been doing is actually, I think someone might be home. Frankie's here and he just went upstairs. Anyway, back to what I have been doing. Oh, come on. This is what happens when you smoke pot for 20-something years. What was I saying? I don't remember, you people. What was I saying? You guys can tell me. Come on. Get me back on track, everyone. Okay. Anyway, I don't like to eat when I drink. And that's not such a good thing. But then again, the body doesn't digest the food anyway. So maybe it's not such a bad thing to have that happen either. I don't know. Okay. But at this time, I wasn't paying attention. I was just going along to get along. And I was just doing. Oh, that's so cute. He let Frankie upstairs. Okay, I was just going along to get along. I was just doing my thing. And that's not what I wanted to say. Sorry. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't. I was just doing my subconscious me. That's the difference. So I was talking to my mom about this, like, Mom, I'm really working on paying attention because I want to be a casual drinker. I want to not feel guilty for having a couple of glasses of wine. But I also know that it's hard for me to have a couple of glasses of wine if I'm not paying attention and if I'm not making that commitment. So why would I make that commitment? Why do I care? Because part of what the gifts of the Holy Spirit and the fruits are that are supposed to come out of our lives is temperance. We're supposed to have self-control. Yes, you get self-control by yourself participating, but also by humbly asking for God to come into your life and to pay attention. Remember, St. Paul says, pray incessantly all day, every day. And you got to be like, are you kidding me? How do you even do that? Well, you wake up, you thank God, you spend your time, your currency with Him, your mental prayer. Go to the Soul, Mind, and Body group. There's a meditation there for you, just one. I'm going to make a few more that go deeper, that actually, where I'm talking through it with you. Anyway, we have to start our day with God, and then we're going to see God in people. We're going to see God in nature. We're going to see God in the stuff that we ingest in our eyes, in our ears. We're going to start thinking about God. We're going to want to be more holy. And as Tammy and I were just talking about, we've been on this journey since 2019, 2020 together. And we can look back at our lives and be like, whoa, what a difference. And so as we keep growing, we need to keep transforming. We need to keep becoming holier. And it really is a result of how we love ourselves. Do I love myself enough to choose temperance and to choose God and to choose to be like God in front of people who don't even think about God? I mentioned this before, but I haven't I mentioned this in my podcast. By the way, I have a podcast every single day, Kendra Von Esch. Oh, no, sorry. Reality Reflections with Kendra Von Esch. It's anywhere you podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Breaker, wherever you get your podcasts. Join me. It's supposed to be 10 minutes, but it's usually 15 or 20. Anyway, but when I think, and I hate that when I forget. Hold on. Oh, hey, Christopher. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I want to be here for you, and I want you guys to be there for me. This is a dual thing. We got to be kind of walking together. Okay, so if I go back to reviewing what I did and what I didn't do, and wanting to be more Christ-like, wanting to show my temperance, and being happy about it. There's a big difference when we're out there and we're like, okay, I'm not going to drink too much. And the reason I don't want to drink too much is because I don't want to say something or not represent God in the right way. Because I've been there, done that. It's so easy to do with alcohol or drugs or anything that kind of loosen your lips. You say things that you will regret. And there's nothing worse than waking up with that, what did I say? What did I say last night? Or not remembering kind of what even happened. And then, as the day goes on, you're like, oh yeah. Or like, I'll open up the refrigerator. I'll be like, oh, I put the food away like that, like this is God poking me and prodding me and helping me learn. That's the whole stinking ride, everyone. You gotta learn. And I was never a learner. I hated school. You couldn't pay me to go do any other continuous schooling for anything after I got out of college. No way. I just got by in my work. I never got a master's. I just got, your typical bachelor's degree, and off I went wanting to make money, not to learn anything. I was never even into improving myself. What did I read? I read like smut magazines, like those Star magazines and Inquirer and all that kind of stuff. What did I watch? I watched like entertainment television. I watched like the Kardashians and just all these stupid reality shows, which aren't reality at all. As a matter of fact, they're downright nasty and evil. And they made me who I was, which was a worldly person, a heathen, a hedonistic heathen, someone who just looked for pleasure, was totally self-centered, but yet at the same time could not even stand being in my own skin, never felt comfortable about anything. So hence all the drugs, the alcohol, the everything that changed that state of being. And that is where God comes in. Because with his power and his grace, we should be learning. And we should be learning like a child. This is the funny thing. After I came out of confession 26 years ago, the Holy Spirit put in my heart a wicked thirst, like a non-quenchable thirst to figure out, what is this Catholic faith all about? Because I don't want to be Catholic. I'll be honest with you. I did not want to change my life, but I knew what I experienced in that confessional, and that was God. And that was in the Catholic Church. So what the heck is going on? God, I don't want to do this. And I did. I walked the walk, the slow walk, to understand exactly what the Catholic Church teaches, and struggled with every stinking one of them. There was not one teaching that I did not struggle with. Even keeping God the center of our lives and not, taking his name in vain. I mean, come on, what didn't I, I broke every single commandment. And I even say murder because I was on birth control. I guarantee you there was a baby that was alive that somehow got killed through my birth control. So yeah. And that's why I'm saying God can do so much in your life. So do you love yourself enough? Because it really is about love. Do you love yourself enough to ask for his help? And do you love yourself enough to want to change that sin? Because sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do not want to let go because we're afraid of what will our life be without this crutch. And I look at it not even like as a crutch, it's more like a weight, like just this monkey on your back. What will my life be like without this? Even though we hate it and we want it out, we're comfortable with it. It's familiar to us, So sometimes you gotta ask God to actually change your heart, Like, help me not like this anymore. Help me not want to watch pornography. Help me not want to drink in excess or take drugs or to eat obsessively or unhealthily, right? To show that I have no self-control. I should have brought or Kleenexes over here. Well, we'll see how this new Elia eyeliner and mascara work, because I've never cried with this on yet. I am going, I don't like it already. They're not waterproof. So, but I am trying to go, oh no, natural. Hang on. All right. Sorry, I had short workout shorts on and I didn't want anyone to see. I don't know if you saw or not. It's something you shouldn't see. Okay, see? That's not good. Elia, what are you doing? Okay, maybe I have to get some waterproof. All right, anyway, so back to back to you. Back to you. I've been there. You know, when I had that miraculous healing with my marijuana, I was this is what happened. I was, the 33 days to morning glory by Father Michael Gately. I was consecrating myself to Jesus through Mary. I had no idea what the heck was going on. This was back in 2013. I was 42. I just went to confession on Divine Mercy Sunday after Easter that year. And then all of a sudden, that December, I have a miracle in my life. Excuse me. Jesus healed me from my addiction. And when I say addiction, I woke up. It was like a cigarette to me. I woke up and I had a bong. And then I would pack it up and I'd take it to work. I'd smoke it at lunch, smoke it on my way home, smoke it when I got home, smoked it before I went to bed. That's an addiction. And I thought I was happy. I thought it made me able to deal with people better. I thought that it helped me ease my stress. I mean, I'm climbing the corporate ladder and I have, all these people to deal with that I'm managing. I'm a chief information officer, excuses, excuses, excuses. I didn't even know what it was like to live not being high. So when I'm praying this consecration to Jesus through Mary, all of a sudden I'm like thinking about my addiction. And I don't want to give it up. As a matter of fact, I told Mary and Jesus, I was like, hey, I know I've thought about it in this while I've been reading these prayers, but I don't want this out of my life. Like, who would I be if I wasn't smoking all the time? I honestly I was already an impatient person who could, I mean, you should have seen me on the highways, I'd be driving and I'd go right up to your butt, flip my brights. And, I was that person cutting in and out of everything. I had no patience, my way or the highway. My husband called me backseat everything because I was just like, here, just give it to me. I'll do it. I mean, I had no peace. And I was still smoking all day long. I mean, hello. I didn't know what peace was. I also didn't know what love was, by the way. That's why I abused my body and I tried to do so many things to make myself look a certain way. Why I gave myself to people. Oh, and then yet had the most horrific shame and regret and guilt. Committed adultery. Hurt my husband beyond belief. I mean, all for what? I didn't even really okay, I'm just gonna go there. I didn't really even like the sex or whatever we were doing. Why? Because I was so stinking uncomfortable with my body. It was always like, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that. So it wasn't like I was liking it. I was doing it because I thought that I was going to be receiving love. That's how warped the culture manipulated my mind and my heart. Just horrible. Okay, so let's go back to what did I learn? Because we have to learn like a child. So as long as we pay attention and we reflect and we allow God to tell us what's going on, we should at least give ourselves some slack. Right? Lord, please help me love myself. Okay? So yeah, I didn't have the best time. I really didn't want, and I haven't yet, said, hey, Mom, I kind of didn't do so good here. Am I at the point where I am not going to drink ever? No, sorry, I'm doing this because it is, again, it looks like, I don't know. It's bothering me. So my mom, I mean, she's like, why do you even have to drink? This is a woman who hasn't had a drink for, oh gosh, I know it was around my first wedding. I was 28. Someone do the math because I can't. I stink at math. And, I'm not there yet. My husband still enjoys it and I like to, have a couple cocktails, but there's a difference. There's a difference between me and my husband at home and what I'm drinking, if it's the wine or the vodka, the two different bottles, because I could care less on the vodka bottle. I could have two drinks. My big thing is I have mint out in a little planter on my deck. I go out there, clip some mint, mull it up, throw it in the bottom, throw some ice on there, put some vodka in there, finish it with seltzer water. And I could drink two of those and be just fine. And I could drink two of those very slowly, like 1 an hour. And then I stop because it's time to make dinner. And I'm not drinking through dinner with the vodka. Unless, of course, I have some. If my second drink is still going, yeah, I'll drink through and then I'll stop when we have dinner and then I am done. But you bring wine into the mix and it's a whole nother story. I want me some more wine. 1 goes into 2, goes into 3. And then sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm 3/4 of the way done with this bottle, or I'll polish it off. Now I've taken this to confession. I've had different counseling. There was one time where I went to Mass and I was kind of hungover. I mean, that's not cool when you're sitting in Mass and you're hung over. So I took that to confession. And the priest, because I said, I wasn't in the right disposition. And he's like, well, were you in mortal sin? I'm like, well, I was like drunkish, like, I don't know, is that mortal sin? You tell me, priest, like kind of thing. I didn't really say it like that, but I was like, I had a bottle of wine and I wasn't feeling so hot. And he's like, well, that's not mortal sin. But even so, I should be going and worshiping God, not hungover, right? And I've done that too many times. And again, that's God probing me. I don't do that as much now because of where I'm at. But if you go back, to, last year, I was struggling with it. That's why I needed to have God just connect all of the dots for me. It was the soul, the mind, the body. There's no way we're going to be able to do it without all 3. I was in pain. I wasn't working out. My body was so tired. I was so fatigued. I was napping every day and still not feeling good. There's something wrong with that, isn't there? Well, it was because I wasn't putting in the right food. I wasn't moving the body. So this holy spirit temple that's supposed to be filled with energy and moving and doing all the things that God made these bodies to do was just wasting away. And then I started looking at the toxins. And then, I believe God just walking me through the steps in order for me to just get it. Now I'll go back to my mom. Look, God speaks through people. He speaks through my husband all the time. It's quite frustrating. And it's very clear. It's a couple of words shot into my heart. I mean, always when I'm like, oh, like God speaking through you right now. And through my mom. My mom always says her piece with love. And she puts that seed, sometimes a 50-pound seed, sometimes a 2-pound seed, but the seed's there nonetheless. And then God waters it, and I keep reflecting on it, and I keep reflecting on it. And recently, I saw Candace Owens. Don't know if you know her, but she's on Daily Wire. I don't know, I want to say she's probably in her mid-30s, mid-30s. She just had a baby. Yeah, she's got a couple kids. I want to say she's in her 30s, I think. And she just put out a video on why I don't drink. And she read this blog. And the blog made me bawl because Candace said that it made her cry. And it was very interesting because she's on this journey, right? She's a Christian. And she said, I really felt the Spirit of God touching my heart. And so, sure enough, she reads the article on that video, and now I'm crying. What is going on here? And then her second video, which she had an interview with this woman, Brett, who's a younger, like Gen Z person, she doesn't drink either. And now this Gen Z person is saying, people at my age are looking at sobriety as something cool because most people are not sober. And I think she's right. It's odd when someone, is at a party and they're not drinking. I would be the person that would walk up to them and be like, what are you doing? And how can you do this? Or why are you doing this? This is just so odd to me. But now, when I see people like that, I'm admiring them. I'm absolutely in awe of their self-control. And maybe they haven't had that cross to bear. Maybe they have other crosses, right? We all have our crosses. But when it comes down to learning, it's reflecting. It's going back and reflecting on that situation. Is this going to be on YouTube? Yes. This will be on YouTube after we're done. All of this will be here. All my flubs and all that kind of stuff. So you can send this along. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. And you know what? If this is helping you, hit like, hit share, subscribe to my channel, get more kind of likes out there. This is how the algorithms work. Like, you gotta have subscribers, you gotta have likes and shares, and then it somehow goes up to the top of the list. But I'm sure it's not going to get it to the top of the list. But even so, I'm sure there are people in your life that might benefit from just my life and my learnings. So the learnings from this was, you need to pay attention. I say this every time. 95% of our life is subconscious programming. Only 5% are we really consciously thinking about what we're doing. I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. I fell right back into my, hey, come on over, let's have a whole bunch of wine. We'll eat, and I'll go to bed kind of thing. And that's kind of what I did. Was I hungover? Oddly enough, no. But did I feel shame and guilt? Yes. And that's God. Because I can do better. I want to do better. Do I have to give up wine? I don't know. My mom, why are you drinking at all? That type of thing. You're so into your soul, mind, and body. Why even put this junk in there? And I don't have a good reason for it. I don't. Other than, boy, I've changed everything in my life pretty much. So I would like to just keep this with my husband, I mean, I won't even have a burger with him. I'll have the burger, but I won't have the bun. Like, there's so much that has changed in my life that I do want to keep a couple of things. And so again, where I'm at right now, I just want to be in control. And I don't have the control. It's God's grace. So I ask him to shower that down on me in humility at the moment. So while I'm actually in this situation, I could have easily prayed. I could have said, Lord, please help me be in this present moment. I could have delivered the spirit of temptation, of alcoholism. I could have done a lot of things, but I didn't. Same thing happened when I went to an engagement party. Same thing happened when I went to a graduation party. I didn't drive. They were all in my neighborhood, which is probably another thing. I think that also has something to do with it, because if I'm going to be driving, I'm not going to be drinking like that. But if I've got to walk 2 houses down, I'm pretty much okay. But at the same time, was I my best self to my neighbors? They all know my ministry. They all know what I'm representing. But am I representing it right? No, I failed miserably. Why? Because I went right back into my subconscious programs. I didn't eat. I drank wine. And oh no, in one of them, I did not drink wine. It was vodka, but I replaced the eating. So I had probably 3 or 4. Not nearly as bad as when I was drinking wine at the other one, which was right next door. Okay. So again, this is God teaching. I'm trying to learn like a child. I'm trying to be like, okay. I'm dense, Lord. He knows. Speak clearly to me. And He is. He's speaking through videos, through podcasts, through my mom, through you. And maybe He's speaking to you through me right now. And it's just a matter of, I want to do better so that they can do better. What does that mean? Everyone that God's put in my life, you have a sphere of influence of people. I have a sphere of influence of people. It may be 3, maybe 2,000. Doesn't matter. We all have our sphere of influence. People are watching, especially the ones that are closest to us, the ones that we don't treat with love and respect sometimes, the ones that we take for granted, the ones that we want to come back to the church, but darn it, they're just not doing it. But when they see us and they see the changes, they will change. It's like this, I call it a mirror neuron. It's not me that calls it that. It's actually a thing. It's not a Kendra-ism. But yeah, a mirror neuron. We imitate what we see. We may not even understand it, but we imitate what we see. And it was very interesting, this Candace Owens. When this is all done, I will put that link to that video, because that blog that she was reading, the woman was saying, I was hearing glug, 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 as my mom and dad poured all the alcohol down the drain when they found God. And then she got caught up into alcohol herself and wasn't even raised with it as a problem in her house. Is on the contrary. So it's a really, really interesting. And it would be interesting if something was speaking to you. Maybe your deal isn't alcohol. Maybe your deal is food. Maybe your deal is laziness. Maybe your deal is you don't pray. You don't have the patience or you're choosing not to love God when you don't pray, by the way. I just have to say it that way. I can't sugarcoat that one. By the way, you shouldn't have sugar either. It's killing you. But I digress. You have to pray. And so many of us don't. So many of us don't know how. So many of us don't know how to calm our minds. So many of us don't know how to fight the distractions. So many of us give up. And you will not be saved if you don't pray. And oh my gosh, you're not going to know God's voice if you don't pray. You're not going to see Him, hear Him, discern. Is that Him or is that Satan? I talked about that on my podcast this morning. Let me see how much time we have here. I could go on and on and on. Clearly. Okay. All right. Ah, thank you. Terry, you're so cool. You're so cute. She will be Catholic soon. It's funny. Her husband is Catholic. And I gotta be honest with you. I was super bummed. I thought it would have been a better video. So Candace did one with Allie Beth Stuckey, who is like a Calvinist, and her husband was on, and they were debating the two religions, and I was just bummed. I'm like, put me on there. I'm like, I know this better. And it's crazy. I'm not judging. We all have our own ways of communicating our faith and why we believe what we believe. But I think in some cases, some of his explanations just got lost in too theologically structured sentences where, Allie just, I thought, kind of wiped him around the floor. All right. What in your life, soul, mind, and body, and you really, let's be honest, all of them are out of balance. If you are not praying a minimum of 20 minutes every day, That's way out of balance. How in the world are you deciphering between evil and good? Which is where I was going, because I was talking about my podcast. So here's the difference between God's voice and Satan's voice. When I wake up that next day, after that Independence Day little friend over, 3 bottles of wine, we did not drink all 3, by the way. We drank 2. And I didn't have, as big of glasses. And again, he was 280, 6 feet. I'm 138, 5'4". Yeah. And I don't have that tolerance anymore. That's another thing. The good thing about eating keto is you don't process the alcohol like you used to with carbs. It hits you a lot harder, especially wine for me. Okay, so here you go. You wake up the next morning and you have the guilt and the shame and the poking and the prodding. It's God's voice if it makes you think about being holier. It's God's voice if you say, oh, Lord, I should have done better. I know I can do better if I follow your lead. Now, help me walk through yesterday. What happened last night? And guide me and lead me through this. He's going to teach you. He's going to show you. And you're going to say, okay, thank you, Lord, because you're going to be grateful for that. And then you're going to ask him for his grace to do better. Now, if you wake up and you got that shame and that guilt, and you are hating yourself, and you are thinking God will never give you grace because you're so pathetic, you have no willpower, why are you even trying to be holy? This prayer stuff isn't working either. Hello, nothing's changing in your life. That is evil. Furnace just went on. Don't know if you can hear the air conditioner. But that's the difference. That's the love that we need to feel for ourselves as we're tripping through our life. And we need to give ourselves a little bit of slack. But we also need to be humble enough to go to God and not think that we ourselves can control all this, because we can't. We think we can sometimes, when we sure want to at other times. I don't know about you, but boy, come on, God. Can we hurry up with this? Can you heal this for me now? Can I really put this in the back seat? I'm always going to fight with sensuality. It's my core root sin. And you may think sensuality is something sexual. It sure sounds like it, doesn't it? It used to be, yeah. I mean, of course, I was sleeping around, I was watching pornography, I was masturbating, I was definitely addicted to pleasure. I was smoking and drinking and anything that changed my state of being. But sensuality is also being lazy, being too comfortable, not stepping out of that box, not trying new things. My whole life was, I'm not doing that. That takes some effort, like I'd try to lose weight and I'd try to work out and I'd try to do all these things and I'd do it for a little bit, but nah. I'd go right back into my old ways. Right back in. So sensuality is just staying in that comfort zone, which is not the journey of faith. We're challenged every day to get out of that comfort zone, not only with our own behavior and changing the vicious behaviors and thoughts and words and deeds, but also to get out there and speak about God, to share our faith. But I always say the best way to do it is through how you live. And so if we learn, and guess what I did? I shared my finding with my husband. I haven't told my mom yet, but you know what, honey? I gotta watch my wine, and I have to pay attention. I don't just want to haphazardly drink anymore. So that's the other step too. Who are you accountable to? I know we have the Soul, Mind, and Body group. I know we have this, all my social media and all that stuff, this general public YouTube channel. I've got Twitter and True Social and Facebook who's been blocking me all the time because I'm putting stuff out there because I just don't care. I just don't care. So, by the way, if you want to know the real truth about the transgender movement and where it started, from Dr. Money and all of his evil and his lies, you can check it out on my YouTube channel. It's one of the most recent posts. I'm just having no fear, thank you God, anymore about speaking up about anything, about my past, about my present, about what's going on in the world, about God. Why? Because I know that by sharing my struggles and my triumphs, and they're not really mine, they're God's, I'm going to inspire you to do the same thing. And if I can inspire myself to love me a little bit more and to cut myself some slack and to truly learn like a child, I'm going to be better off. And I'm going to look to God all the time instead of me, which is what I did for the first 5-6 years of my journey, all by myself, never really knowing how to pray, didn't understand this whole grace thing, you know. I just knew that I had to change everything in my life because the Catholic Church told me so, and I believed everything as I was researching it. I didn't just come into this faith blindly. I absolutely fought it every step of the way. I do not want to be Catholic. Oh my gosh, that I have to change everything. And how am I going to do that? Because my whole life I couldn't even lose weight, you know? But when you got God, He's your strength. He's your guider. He's your leader. And He gives you that courage. It's so empowering. There's so much freedom. It's amazing. Okay, we are getting to that point, and I am going to, I love you all. Hi, Cherie. Okay. Speak on, you rock. Thank you, Terry. You know what, guys, gals, everyone, I'm so grateful for being on this journey with you all. Let's just continue to pray for the world. Oh my goodness, right? Let's continue to sacrifice, and by that I mean self-sacrifice, showing it to other people so that they can see God working in us, and then we can give God credit, and then that seed's planted. And let's also really look at the people in our lives who are speaking to us, that God is speaking through them. Sometimes we don't want to hear it, but that's the whole point of contemplation and prayer. And yeah, God can change your heart. We talked about that. Thanks for allowing me to break down into tears and find my Kleenex. Luis, you're probably out there somewhere. Why haven't you learned to keep your Kleenex next to you? Gosh, I think that's Luis. I may be confusing the name. Anyway, you know who you are. All right, everyone. Find something more, soul, mind, and body. Let's do this. God's got you right where He wants you. There's a reason. There's a reason this hasn't been healed for you. There's a reason that you are struggling with it. I don't know what it is. Only He does, but we can get through it with Him. And on the other end, there is such freedom and such joy. And then you can share and be different and be that evangelist that we're all called to be. Okay, thank you for dealing with all the technical difficulties, and I will talk to you soon. Have a blessed and inspired day. All right, here I go. Clicking the X. Yes.